Is she here? Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you ready to go?
Yes.
All right, well, I call this meeting to order. Let's stand and do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and flag for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first thing on the agenda is the roll call. Amanda, would you please?
Trustee Bear,
Here.
Trustee Bettinger,
Oh, she's there. She's working on it.
Trustee Johnson,
Here.
Trustee Knutson,
Here.
Trustee Meck,
Here.
Trustee Pattison,
Here.
Mayor Bachran.
Here. All right, we have a quorum and we can continue. Okay, first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. As I was saying, we have a little Zoom problem, and that if we want to run an executive session, when we upgraded our Zoom platform, it went to a webinar kind of platform where we cannot do a breakout session. So in order to run our executive session, we would have to close out. We individually as members would leave this session, go to the email link in the new Zoom meeting, go to that Zoom meeting at the end of the executive session, leave that meeting, come back to this meeting and log in. Part A. Part B could be to just table the executive session, set up a special meeting. Instead, we can run that on our regular Zoom platform and have the breakout room. Would anyone like to make any motions?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda with item number 14 of the executive session tabled for now.
Would you like to set a date? Well, do you want to set a date for that, Bill, or let's do it after we get approval?
Well, do we have, you said there's nothing critical about the date, right?
Correct.
I would say that before the end of the year.
Okay.
Or we could do it in January. I don't care.
I tell you what, let's go ahead. Yes, Dave?
I'm just wondering if we're going to have a special meeting, don't we have to do the same process where we have to log into a meeting like this to go into executive session, come out, and then log back in with any action?
No, because we'll do it off a different Zoom platform that doesn't give as much accessibility to the public. So we can't have as many people on it and stuff like that.
Right. So in Zoom, you can set up a webinar, and you can also, or you can set up through Meeting. They're two different platforms. Meeting allows you to have a waiting room so that anyone that was in attendance can be placed in the waiting room so that they're not privileged to what's happening during the executive session, and you don't have to leave the meeting. Webinar doesn't allow you a waiting room or a muting or anything like that.
Thanks.
Okay, any other? Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and get a second on the motion to table the executive session, and then if we need to, we can set a date. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Did you want to say something, Bill?
No, I can wait.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Okay,
Nay.
opposed? So just one nay?
Yeah, me.
Okay. You got that, Amanda?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So we have tabled the executive session. Would someone like to set a date to do the special executive session?
Mayor?
Yes, Bill.
Do we anticipate any action following an executive session?
I don't anticipate any, but then, who knows?
Well, personally, I would rather have an executive session where we meet at the town hall, in executive session.
Well, you realize that could be months away. I mean, we're talking.
With just a small group, we couldn't do that.
But we still, I don't know. Bo, what about public in that regard?
It, I would say in terms of timeliness, we don't have to have the executive session until the January. We could have it as late as the first meeting in January. Other than that, I can't predict in terms of if and when we would have in-person meetings, if you will. We have had in-person executive sessions at town hall. And with that, Corinne, correct me if I'm wrong, but we also streamed the first and last portion of those meetings so that the public could see us go in and out of executive session. It looks like Corinne is frozen.
Oh dear, yes, Corinne looks to be frozen. Oh goodness, we're going to have a fun Zoom meeting tonight.
So while Corinne gets back on, I believe, and then maybe Amanda can say something, but I believe the town has the capability of doing that. I don't necessarily anticipate that there would be action items out of executive session, but as legal counsel, I have to advise you that we also always have the ability for the trustees to make a statement if they were objecting to the discussion of the executive session. So I do think that it's important that that is a public process, if you will.
Well, then I'll make the date and make it at the next first meeting in January.
Okay. Can I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Corinne says, I agree, Bo.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, then all in favor of moving the executive session to the first meeting in January?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I think Mick is now frozen.
He looks.
No,
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
I agree
All
with it.
right. Any opposed? All right, seeing none, the agenda is amended. All right, first meeting in, yes, Corinne. You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm glad I'm back.
Yeah.
I could hear you. I just couldn't see anything. You have a hand up in the attendees.
Oh, I can see. Where are my attendees? Why can't I make that bigger? All right,
Hello?
who is that?
Hello?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I suppose
Please
I can ask.
I'm sorry, please identify
Dan
yourself.
Watt.
Thank you.
Hello? Okay, so my question is, so you didn't decide that you were going to have a streamed executive session. You're just deciding that you're going to hold it in January. Is that correct?
It is on the agenda for January.
Okay, because I did want to point out that if you don't have streaming capabilities, you can't see the meeting as a member of the public. So the phone option is always very important.
Thank you. All right.
But
let's move on with announcements. I don't have any announcements. Does anyone on the board have an announcement? Nope, seeing none. All right, let's move on to the next portion, recognition of visitors and guests. Do we have anybody in the audience who would like to speak on a subject that is not on the agenda? Tammy.
Did we approve the agenda?
Yes,
Yes.
with the table.
Okay, so it was just tabling that. Okay.
Okay. Well, seeing that there's nobody who wants to speak, let's move on to staff reports. Administrator's report, Corinne.
Okay, first I did include a written report in the packet if anyone has any questions about what I included. And I have a couple of other things. I wanted the board to be aware that I am looking into methods for submitting comments for the board and to the board on agenda items. There's been a question about whether or not the town could have calls forwarded to staff members should we have to be out of the office. And our IT contractor is setting this feature up. It's a little bit different because we have an Elevate phone system, but he is working on that. I plan to have a draft of a few sections of potential updates to the master plan out via email, hopefully this month, to the Planning Commission and the board to provide feedback and modification before it goes out to the boards in the community for review. The information sign for Pullis Park is substantially underway, and right now we anticipate it'll be installed in the next coming weeks, if not by the end of the year. And I also wanted to provide a quick update. I've got to switch screens on the updated numbers that the county is reporting out on the community dashboard. As of today's date at 5:30 p.m., there are 39 new cases reported in the last 24 hours. There are 9 current hospitalizations, 19 deaths, and they are showing that the 2-week positive count is up 0.4%, and our 2-week positivity rate is at 13.49%.
Okay, thank you, Corinne. Are there any questions for the town administrator from the board? Yes, Michelle.
I just want to say I really appreciate the written report that was included. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Yes, Karen.
I just wondered if this latest report, does that mean that we've gone into another level of, are we red now? Does that mean a stay at home? Is it any different?
No, we're still in the orange. The information that's been shared with me recently is that it's not just the percentage number that is used to determine the level that you're at on the dial. So we do stay within the orange, and they're monitoring to see if we need to go into the red. With that, knowing that that is a real possibility, a strong possibility, the county and the municipalities are working on some things that we could put in place that the state may be acceptable of to help some of those businesses that would typically be closed when you're in a red, such as restaurants and things like that that are not considered essential. So we are evaluating ways to keep those businesses open in some capacity if we do change to a red status.
Any other questions for Corinne from the board? Okay, seeing none. Anything from the public? All right, seeing none, let's move on to Public Works report. Travis.
Good evening. Corinne helped me do a written report today, which was emailed to everybody. And we updated the spring overflow and water produced spreadsheet that everybody should have got in an email. And also an updated on the sanitary survey. We do have a few things left to complete on that, but most of it is completed. JDS Hydro is working with SGM for the mapping because they have started the modeling of the water system. So they're working both together right now to get pressure analysis and stuff done with that. Browns Hill did complete the installation of the new SCADA system at the 1 million. Now they're working with our IT guy to get the static IP address and everything to where it's fully functional at the plant and remoted in. The bulk water fill station is also being addressed with our IT guy to try to get the components, the IP addresses and stuff completed so it will talk with the computers at the office. We did have 3 water leaks between December 6th and December 12th up on Lambert Mesa. all of those are completed. We had an additional 3 water leaks this week so far on Lamborn Mesa. 2 of those are completed and waiting for parts to do the third one, which is a really small leak. We did have a few frozen water meters yesterday, but I haven't directed my guys to go out and check all the meter pits, make sure that the lids are on and it's got adequate insulation in the pits with that. CNN has completed the sidewalks for the town for this year. We're very well complimented on from a lot of people, and I'm real happy with the outcome this year. Snow plows are running. Did have a breakdown on the sander truck today. Should have it repaired hopefully by tomorrow. If not tomorrow, we should have it done by Thursday for sure. The mag the county where we've been getting our mag from is out right now, so they're not expecting to get any for the next couple of weeks. So as soon as they get some more in, we'll be able to get another load of mag for snow season. I'm seeing with the colder weather and stuff, seeing raised levels of ammonia in the wastewater treatment plant. But doing some research right now, investigating on ways that we can keep our ammonia levels down. Not that we're out of compliance, but we're getting close with the weather changing and stuff like that. And that's all I've got to report unless anybody has any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Yes, Bill.
A couple of things. The water leaks up on Lamborn, are any of these leaks associated with our new installations?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, they're all old lines.
Okay. And then the ammonia issue, have you seen this problem in the past during the winter months?
Yes, they're just elevated a little higher. After talking with a few other operators and stuff, they think it's probably because our sludge level is actually getting around that 25 to 30% sludge level, and that's where they're seeing more off-gassing of ammonia and stuff.
Is this going to lead to a major sewer project to clean out the sludge next year?
No, I don't think so. I think with talking with these other operators and a few engineers and stuff that I've been talking to, they think you can control it with just nitrification additives into the wastewater plant.
Thank you.
Dave.
My question was the same as Bill's about Lamborn.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Yes, Tammy.
So are those breaks related to the cold? I mean, that's a lot of breaks to happen in a very short period of time.
I do believe so. I think the ground shifted. Two of them were just pinholes that just the ground movement, fluctuation and stuff, and a pinhole on a rust spot created them. The other ones were a failed fitting that I don't think was quite installed correctly. It was a plastic fitting with rubber couplers. And the other one is a tap saddle that is a brass tap saddle in corrosive material that the bowl actually corroded away.
Yes, Tammy.
And how were these detected if they were really small? Did people report them, or how did you know that there were leaks?
The small leak right now that I'm waiting for parts for is a very small leak that is running. It's probably running between 2 to 3 gallons a minute. All the rest of them were fairly good-sized leaks. Between the biggest one was probably about 25 gallons a minute. The range from 25 gallons to 10 gallons a minute. that surfaced.
Vic?
Yeah, Travis, I was just wondering, with the elevated ammonia levels and the sludge levels coming up, we won't have to address that this year, but when would we have to address that? And what kind of a problem is it to clean that out?
There's several different methods of being able to desludge a pond. One way is you can take one of the ponds out and you can dredge it and haul the material off. Another way that a lot of the lagoon systems are going to is a water sludge removal, where they bring a machine in and it floats on our ponds and it sucks the sludge from the bottom and dewaters it and cakes it, and then you can haul that material off. Both of them are pretty intense methods, but there's, depending on which direction you wanted to go, to keep our capacity with our ponds and stuff.
Yeah, I guess that was my thought, that, we probably should be putting some money away so we can take care of that. So
when we had our sludge analysis done 2 years ago, we were about 20. Most of the mapping and stuff, most of it was about 25% of capacity. It ranged between 25 and 28% capacity 2 years ago, which is pretty low for a lagoon system being as old as ours is now.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. Question from the public. Yes, Suzanne. Yes, Suzanne. Are we having technical difficulties here?
It's giving me, there you go. She's unmuted.
Okay.
Can you hear me? It takes a while to get unmuted. So this is Suzanne Watson. Travis, I had a question about, stated that you were going to be using mag chloride on the town streets. I know we'd had this discussion in past councils, but I want to know, where are you planning on putting this on the town streets? What form of mag chloride are you using, and how do you apply it? When do you apply it? What's the program? I wasn't aware that you had done it last year, so I was kind of wondering what your plan was this year with mag chloride. So which areas are you putting it down? What's the form that it comes in, and how often does this happen?
We use liquid magnesium chloride. We use it on the intersections of 2nd and Grand, 3rd and Grand. We will use it on the truck route between 2nd and 3rd on Main, and then we use it on Apple Valley. We do use it after it's snowed and ice builds up, just to help thaw the ground faster in the intersections.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the public? All right, seeing none, let's move on. Thank you, Travis. To the police report, Neil.
Hello. So I just wanted to let everybody know that because of Back the Badge, we are now at full staff. We have officially 6 full-time officers in the police department, including myself. We have recently hired Officer Andrew Vassell back to the police department. He took a break over the summer to do some outfitting, but he always stayed on with us as a reserve officer. When Back the Badge did pass, he came up to me and spoke to me and was interested in coming back full time. So since he had all of his gear, his bulletproof vest and all his other vests and everything, we went ahead and figured it would be the smart choice to hire him back. He already knew the town, already lived in town. So that was one less thing that we had to worry about. So we're excited to have him back, and we're excited to have 6 full-time officers. With the increase in the officer, I do plan on changing our shifts to, or changing the officer shifts to 410s, 4 days a week, 10-hour shifts. With doing this, I can have officers out earlier in the morning and later at night, so that way they're catching more of the morning rush and then more of the night rush later at night also. So we're actually getting more coverage, so that way there'll be officers out more often. And it's a great, they all love it because they get 3 days off instead of 2 days off. So it's a win-win for them. That's about all I have right now.
All right, questions from the board for the chief? Yes, yeah.
How are you doing vehicle-wise?
We are going to, if the budget passes, we are going to be getting the other vehicle, and then that'll take care of our vehicle needs for that. So we do have one that's tentatively budgeted for next year. So as soon as the budget passes, then hopefully we will look into purchasing one from Hellman. Chevy is where we generally get our vehicles. Hopefully I'll be able to bring it before the board, probably the first meeting in January, and get it purchased and get it outfitted before the middle of February. And that way everybody will have vehicles. Right now we have enough vehicles. I'm just driving the unmarked Ford Explorer right now.
Tammy.
I noticed on the police blotter there were 2 illegal burnings.
Yes.
What can you tell us about those?
So they were basically nuisance calls. It sounds like that they were letting off an odor. So the officers did contact them and let them know that they were not allowed to be burning in town limits. So they did stop burning.
Any other questions for the chief? Yes, Michelle.
We get an update on outfitting the in-car cameras?
We're still going with the in-car cameras. I actually had to pull the one that I was working on completely apart. We've been having grounding issues with the back of that one that's been going on for a while now. And I actually found that whenever I put it back together, or put it together the first time, I actually got a wire caught underneath the seat, and that was causing our grounding issues. So now that's fixed, and all I have to do is put that back together. Hopefully it will be up and running in the next couple of days.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I would like to add if the chief and I finish his evaluation today, I will compile our results and get it out to the board by the next meeting. So you will have that. We're going to keep him just in case you were on pins and needles. The other thing is in the last couple of weeks, we had a woman who was being harassed, and because of the issues of COVID and everything, we have now instituted a process by which people who need to file restraining orders can do so remotely. So they don't have to go to Delta and they don't have to appear in front of a judge. It can all be done via the phone and via fax. So I think that's a real benefit for people living out here, especially in these times. All right, thank you very much. Oh wait, questions from the public. Thomas, please introduce yourself first.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. Neil, I didn't know if you saw, I hope you did, the first time that Colorado Senate Bill 19166 was applied recently, I guess this week or last week. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that or any information that you'd like to share with the public about it.
Which one's that?
I believe
Oh, the only thing that I had seen about it was that there were 6 officers that did have their post revoked for, I guess, flying. I'm not sure. I don't have a lot of information on it. I was just able to read it just like everybody else, so I don't have any other information on it.
I know we will be getting together with Bo on this to make sure that we'll be in compliance all the way across the board, though I think we already are the last time we checked.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much, Chief.
Have a good night.
All right. Moving on to the attorney's report. Bo, you are up.
Yeah, that was a nice segue. So with respect to my memo, one of the things that I hit upon was while the effective date of Senate Bill 2020-217 is 6/19/20, most of the reporting requirements come into play in 2021 and 2022. And so certainly we'll be proactive with Chief Ferguson to make sure that there's compliance with that. As Thomas did indicate, that some of the liability that comes into play was effective with the passage of the bill in 2020. Other than that, my report, as I indicated, we had several meetings with the developer of the Riverbank subdivision, we being Corinne and Travis and I, late part of November, first part of December. It was determined by town staff that the application was substantially complete, but there were some issues with respect to, frankly, the applicant would be asking for frankly, some significant variances or some engineering concerns, and thus the applicant on their own desire is going to be redoing some of those schematics and submitting updated plans. And with that, we'll schedule a planning commission meeting. So I would anticipate that's probably going to be February, first quarter of 2021. Also included in the packet is a resolution certifying the election results. And then lastly, we've had some discussions in the previous meeting, and there's going to be some discussions with the newly created water board, and just want to make sure that I'm more than happy to work with any of the boards at the council's or the trustees' direction in terms of if we're trying to get either charters in place or procedures or whatever it might be. So that's the broad brush of my report. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Yes, Dave.
I'm just curious about what our alternatives are with the Paonia Ditch Company.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. I'd rather get a firm no, if you will, and then if it's a matter that I feel like is appropriate for us to discuss in executive session, I'll make that request, or we'll provide an update after getting definitive answer and getting that information to staff.
Any other questions for Bo? All right, seeing none, anything from the public? All right, seeing none, let's move on. Now, I just thought as we were going through this, yes,
You
Corinne.
have a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Last four numbers 8484. Would you please introduce yourself when you are unmuted?
Thank you. Okay. You were saying that there's significant variances. This is Christina Patterson.
Thank you.
You were saying that there the Riverbank is asking for significant variances from the town. And just wondering what they are asking from the town as a developer.
Let me rephrase that, if I may, Mayor.
Yes, please.
All right. The proposal as submitted, the applicant would need to request a variance because it's a work product at this point in time and not the final submitted application. I don't believe that it's appropriate for me to detail what those requests would look like. Certainly once the information is provided in its final form, it will be available for public review and or discussion and dissemination.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All
and
right.
one more question.
Oh, I'm
I have
sorry,
just one more question.
Christine,
Okay.
I'm sorry, but we have, the new standard is a person gets to talk once on any agenda item. So I'm sorry, but you've used up your time.
Okay.
All right. Next, I realized in the midst of all of this that if we add the executive session onto the end of the next agenda, we're going to end up at the next meeting, we're going to end up in exactly the same problem, unless we can do it on a different platform. Can we run the meeting on a different platform, Corinne, for our first meeting in January?
Yes, I should be able to set it up as a regular meeting. I just need to confirm the length of time because meeting attendance number and length is different than webinar attendance number and length.
Okay. Well, if you would check on that and then keep us updated via email, and then if we need to figure something out, we can do that. All
okay.
Right. Thank you. And I would like to reiterate, I'm sorry, I was supposed to say this at the beginning of the meeting and I did not, and I apologize to attendees for not explaining this, is that on each agenda item, trustees will always be given the first chance to discuss. After they have finished their questions, then it will be open to the public. Each person will receive the opportunity to speak one time on an agenda item. So if you have multiple questions, please make sure that those multiple questions are outlined in your first question. If there is a second person in your residence or who is on your phone, when you get unmuted, please let us know that there are two people who would like to comment, and then as soon as you are finished, the next person can take over. So I apologize for not doing this sooner, and we shall continue. We are next on the disbursements and the treasurer's report.
Mayor, you have another hand up related to the statement you made.
Okay. Yes, Thomas.
Yeah, I was wondering what the possible justification for that would be.
The meetings have been going longer and longer, and part of it is because it gets into a discussion and a back and forth between the board and the public. At this point in time, you know, some of these discussions are not fruitful and they just go on and on and on. And so in order to facilitate the meetings while allowing people to have input into the meetings, we decided to move to this format. Again, I would like to remind everyone that according to state law, we are only required to take public input at the very beginning of the meeting. And we don't have to take public input on every agenda item. And so the fact that this has become a standard in Paonia, and I'm willing to go with this standard in Paonia, that this is how we are going to run them from now on. And when we get back into person, things may change. But we have a lot more attendees on these meetings now than we ever did when the meetings were in public or in person. So for now, we are going to limit it and we'll move on from there. All right, moving on. We have disbursements. Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We reviewed the payroll and disbursements, continued review of the 2021 budget, and as treasurer, I'm recommending the adoption of resolution 2020-23, mill levy certification, And resolution 2024, budget resolution. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Treasurer King? Seeing none, anything from the public? Seeing none, let's move on to disbursements. Can I get a motion for disbursements, please?
Karen, is that you or me?
She's muted. Go, Dave.
Okay, I'll make the motion. Madam Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve accounts payable in the amount of $108,905.70. Approve an extra check for $1,700 that was part of the COVID grant to a business. Approve Chase credit card amounts in $6,766.79. A transfer to payroll of $19,679.91. Payroll taxes of $8,488.52. And finally, direct deposit payroll of $19,679.91. What Karen and I discussed with staff is that when we go through disbursements, we'd like to go back to the staff member who was responsible for the disbursement to explain that to the town council. We think that makes more direct and increases trust between us. Thank you.
Okay, do I hear a second? Karen, you need to unmute if you're going to second.
Second.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
All right, any questions from the board? Yes, Bill.
My question concerns the Forest Service, the water permit for $1,669.59. What is this, and how many years is the permit good for?
It's an annual permit, Bill. It's for our right-of-ways, for our water, our spring lines that sit on the Forest Service.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? See, yes, Michelle.
Yeah, just a suggestion. I know we have a policy on a certain purchase amount. I believe it's 5,000, where anything above that amount comes to the board for review. I wonder if we might also consider having an annual amount on any one vendor. A cap on how much we could spend with any one vendor before that also comes before the board.
I believe we would need to do that via resolution or ordinance or some such thing. Is that correct, Glenn?
Potentially, yes, or a policy establishment. I'll look into that and we can bring that up at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Other questions from the board? All right, seeing none, anything from the public? Yes, Thomas.
Okay, I'll try and get all these in since we won't be able to, or we're not allowed to discuss it. I was wondering what the items, Body Intuitive, in the amount of $2,800 or $2,875. From what I could tell, that was a like a alternative healing center, and there was I guess a couple of other things, but the most important would be if the items like the Dollar General and Walmart and Amazon purchases are reviewed by anyone other than staff.
Yes, Corinne.
Body Intuitive is a business within the town limits that received a coronavirus relief fund disbursement from the town's CARES Act funds.
Okay, thanks.
And Dave?
I just wanted to point out that Karen and I and the treasurer go over the credit card charges in detail each month prior to the meeting. Thanks for your question, Thomas.
Yeah, my understanding is, my question was the actual purchases themselves, like the receipts for the itemized purchases.
That's what we review.
All right. Phone with the last four numbers, 4544. Please introduce yourself when you're unmuted.
Hello, Mayor Bachman.
Yes.
Sorry, this is Paige Smith at 215 Delta. Thank you, Mayor. I just was curious about the $1,700 towards a simpler time B&B.
That also was a coronavirus relief fund reimbursement for their business. It was actually should have been included in the last section of disbursements, but was overlooked. So they issued the check after the fact and included it on this report for public review.
Okay, thank you.
Suzanne.
Hi, this. Maybe I got muted. Can I speak again? Okay, I was just curious about the Colorado Code Consulting. There's an August payment and then the November payment. Did they forget to submit a bill in August?
No, they did not. It just hadn't been released to them.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else? Okay, we've got a motion and a second on disbursement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, seeing none, that passes. All right, next on the agenda is the end of year disbursement approval. So we still have to issue a payroll before the end of the year and we won't be meeting. So this is a pre-authorization for release of that payroll. Is that correct, Corinne?
It's payroll and any disbursements that would need to be made before the end of the year, and the Finance and Personnel Committee would meet with the Treasurer and Finance Director as per usual to review and approve the disbursements and payroll. And then the completed disbursements and information, just like in this packet, would be included in the first packet in the first meeting in January for the board's review, question, and final approval after the fact.
Okay, thank you. So can I get a motion to approve the end of year disbursement? Yes, Dave.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that the Finance Committee and the Treasurer and staff be allowed to produce payroll and reimbursements at the end of the month in advance with a report on the first board meeting in January.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion from the board? Seeing none, anything from the public? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is the Advisory Water Committee appointments. So we have received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 requests to be appointed to the new Water Advisory Committee. What I think we should do is, first off, let us appoint the board member to that committee. And then we can move on and discuss the appointment of the other positions. So, would anyone like to volunteer or volunteer someone else to be on that committee? Bill?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to nominate Tammy Meck for that position. I'd love to do it, but she's going to be on the long term, and I think she's got a good grasp on the water issues as far as the interaction between the town and the staff and everything else. So I'd nominate her to be the town representative.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion. Tammy, you can say something if you want. Go ahead.
I'm more than willing to put in the time. I know I have a lot to learn, but I do, like Bill said, have some background information, some background knowledge. I would be honored.
Okay. Any other questions for Tammy from the board or discussion? All right, seeing none. Anything from the public? Okay, seeing none. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of Tammy Meck sitting on the Water Advisory Board?
Aye.
Aye.
Hooray.
Any opposed? All right, Tammy, congratulations. You're on another board. All right. Then what I suggest we do is that we fill the 3 positions by the category. So the ordinance asked for, well, it was preferred that we do 1 in-town user, 1 out-of-town user, and 1 person from the water company. So I would take nominations for, let's start with the in-town water user. Now, in the packet, the people who have submitted have been noted as to where they fall in that system. So we have Thomas Markle, Mike Heck, Bill Bruner as contention for the in-town water user position. Do I have a nomination? Yes, Dave.
I'd like to nominate Thomas Markle. I really appreciated the research he's done in the past for the town when we had some development issues. I think he really did a deep dive, and that gave me a lot of confidence in thinking that he would do a lot of learning on this. So I'd like to nominate Thomas Markle for that position.
Okay. Do we have a second? All right. Discussion from the board. Yes, Michelle.
Yeah, I need to recuse myself on the in-town section.
I figured that one. Any other discussion from the board? Yes, Dave.
I hope we're not building an incestuous relationship here.
Takeover of town government, do we have? All right. Input from the public. Yes, Suzanne.
Hi, this is a comment, and it's probably a little useless, but because the ordinance was already passed, but I was thinking it might have been helpful to have an in-town business owner and an in-town residential member, just because, you know, there are 2 different perspectives that in-town people could have on the water system, you know, based on the type of usership they have. But it's something you might want to consider in the future when you see how this committee goes. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, congratulations, Suzanne. Thomas Markle is an in-town business owner, so he fulfills both of them. All right, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks. I was going to say that. And I guess I'll kind of translate my chicken scratch just so that we can have this for the record. For my relevant experience regarding water systems, I got my Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering in 2003 from Rose-Hulman, where I did much of the work was flow studies. Not that I would be able to actually do any engineering. I'm not certified, but basically I understand fluid flow, fluid dynamics, and related fields. And then my more hands-on experience includes a water system that I installed and maintained for a couple of years when I lived in Kentucky for feeding cattle on my family farm. We have about 100 head of cattle, and we did a water project where we installed about a mile of line that was sourced from, I think it was 3 different springs. At one point, we have 2 now, but three spring pumps, and about 9 or 10 actual watering stations for cows. And I did all the maintenance for that for several years. And then when we were on the road, living in the RV before we got to Paonia, a couple of my seasonal jobs had individual water systems for the places we were staying. One of them was in Mammoth Springs, California, that was a seasonal system. That was a source, surface water sourced system that had a slow sand filter, a chlorine injection pump, and served about 40 households that was privately owned. All these are privately owned, actually. And I did chlorine maintenance and testing for that system. And then when we were in Almont, Colorado, just over the mountain there, there's about a 300-person system that has 6 wells and as well as irrigation extraction. And I did maintenance and upgrades, well replacements, chlorine updates, and irrigation maintenance on that as well. So my experience is a lot more hands-on so far on this, but I am happy to serve, and I think that I can bring at least some relevant experience. I'd also like to note that you do have the option of having up to 5 members of the public on here, so you might consider having more than one in-town or out-of-town user, depending on, I don't know how the actual accounts or use is broken down, but I think it would be fair to add people as necessary based on the number of users or the number of accounts that are represented in the system.
Okay, thank you, Mark Thomas. However, I would correct you that the committee shall have no less than 3 nor no more than 5 members in total. So one of those is a board member, one of those is a public works or admin staff, which leaves 3 public positions.
I see. Okay, my misunderstanding.
Okay,
Thanks.
no problem. All right. So we have a motion and a second to put Thomas Markle on the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, hearing none. Congratulations, Thomas. You are on the board. All right, so let's move to the out-of-town water user. We have 3 people who would work for that position: Mike Drake, Chris Kendall, or Robert Orlando. Can I get a nomination? Yes, Dave.
Well, I guess I'm first one with my hand up here. I'd like to nominate Phil Siriani. In reviewing the applications, I felt that Phil brought a lot to the table, and I really respect his judgment. I've dealt with him in other matters, and I would like to nominate Phil Siriani for the out-of-town position.
Dave, I think he would fill the out-of-town, the water company position versus the out-of-town water user. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
I'll stand corrected. So it's in town or out of town?
No, out-of-town water user.
So it'd be, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So
Mike
it would be
Drake.
Robert Orlando or Chris Kendall?
Or Mike Drake.
Or Mike Drake. I'd like to nominate Mike Drake.
All right. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Discussion from the board.
I think that, yeah, I think that Mike has demonstrated a desire to participate in the oversight of the thing, and is willing to invest the time.
Okay. Did you have your hand up? Yes, Tammy.
Yeah, all 3 of those are really good choices, but I would also with Mike, as Bill said, he has expressed an interest. He is very up to date in what's going on around here, and has the time and has the energy and has a lot of knowledge, a lot to contribute. All 3 really good choices that I think Mike stands out.
Okay, thank you. Any input from the audience? Yes, person with the last 8484. You are unmuted.
Christina Patterson. Yes, I also agree with the other callers that it would be incredible with the stroke of a pen or a vote to open up the number. We have incredible people that have so much experience, and to have Mike Drake and Chris Kendall and Robert Orlando on that committee would be incredible for the town. And in a way, that's really all you have to think about. What is the best for the town? I think that are these meetings going to be open to the public? So these other people that have so much to say will be available to go to these meetings?
Yeah, absolutely, they will be open to the public.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Christina. All right. Anyone else from the audience? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of Mike Drake as the out-of-town water user, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Then let's move on to the last one, which is the representative of water system. And we have Phil Seriani, Chris Kendall, and Robert Orlando. You want to renominate Dave?
Yes, I would like to renominate Philip Seriani.
All right. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right. Discussion from the board.
I just got a question. Has Philip ever been to one of our meetings and spoken?
I don't believe so. Not that I know of. I don't think are you out there, Philip? I don't think so. Okay. No. And, you know, I've had dealings with Philip Seriani as well, and I find him to be an incredibly competent and bright person that would be an asset to this water advisory board for sure. All right. Any other discussion from the board? All right. Seeing none, discussion from the public. Yes, Suzanne. Suzanne? Okay. Her hand is down again.
All right, let's go.
Hello?
There's a delay
Hi.
in the unmuting process, so it just
Okay.
takes a minute.
All right, Suzanne.
Okay, there's a huge delay. The reason I'm asking this now is because I'm not quite sure what the next set of nominations are. But are you nominating either Corinne or Travis for the position for the town seat after this?
Yes, one of those two will be filling the public works or admin staff position.
Okay, but it's something that you choose. It's not either or depending on who is available at the time. Is that correct?
Corinne?
It's a nomination.
No, my understanding of the ordinance was that it would either be a public works, which would be Travis, or an administrative staff, which would be me. And then the other positions were filled by nomination, but I don't know that necessarily has to be the way it's done.
Okay, all right. So we have a...
Is it decided or is it a nomination?
We'll discuss that in a minute, Suzanne. We have a motion and a second to put Phil Seriani on the board. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that motion carries. So Philip is on the board as well. All right, to the question as to do we need to appoint either Travis or Corinne? Bo, do you have a take on that ordinance as to whether it's an appointment and it has to be an appointment of one of the two?
As I recall, it's just an appointment of a staff member. Now, I think that either Travis or Corinne, just based on the nature of their role, would probably be it's a board decision, if you will, but a department head might be a logical choice.
Okay. Discussion from the board as to what you would like to do with this?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I think we should leave it undetermined at this point, dependent upon the discussion of the meetings and their agenda. It might be either would best fulfill the rules. So I'd like to see that left undetermined.
Okay, so your suggestion is say Travis show up for the first meeting and then
That would be between him and Corinne as to that in the agenda. You know, the best serve the meeting.
okay. Yes, Dave.
I like Bill's approach. I think just leaving it open and whichever one, where that's the best use of their time. I was a little hesitant about nominating Corinne for this because she's got so much on her plate with clerk and town administrator, but if it's left open where Travis can fill in, I think that'll work well.
Okay. All right, well, I think in that case, we have filled all our positions. We do have a comment one time, and that's it, Suzanne.
So that sounds like then we have another member of the board, because are they only a member when they attend the meeting? Or, I mean, then you have 2 town staff members who are people who are members technically, if either or could attend the meetings. So if that's the way you're going to do it, why can't, for instance, Phil Seriani let Bobby Orlando attend the meeting if he can't attend it himself? I mean, I'm kind of confused by, I thought it was kind of cut and dried, you know, a certain number that we were looking at, but now it sounds like it's pretty loosey-goosey. Thanks.
Thank you, Suzanne. All right. Next item on the agenda is the acquisition of a Snopes plow spreader. Well, in case you guys didn't notice, but over the weekend, our snowplow dash spreader broke, and we have had no way to spread sand aside from having somebody stand in the back, pick up and shovel it out the door. So this might be a really good thing to approve right now. So, any details that we should know that haven't been included, Corinne or Travis?
Most of the information was included in the packet. They were able to Band-Aid the spreader back over the weekend and were using it, but it did go down again today, which is more evidence of a need to have a newer piece of equipment so that we have a backup if one of them is down for repair. So we did include the information as far as looking into multiple options of where it could be purchased from. And we also included in the packet a product detail sheet for the board's review.
Okay, any questions from the board for Travis or Corinne about the spreader? Yes, Michelle.
Yeah, I noticed that it says that it'll fit on a town pickup truck. I was wondering if that's one specific town truck or if it's if it can move between different pieces of equipment that we already have.
Travis?
It can be moved, but not easily. There's hardwiring involved into it for the controls of it.
Okay. What I'm mainly looking for is that, let's say we get the new spreader and then the truck we put it on is 10 years old and the truck goes down. Can we continue using the spreader with a different truck that we already have, or do we have to purchase a new truck at that point?
We can use the same. We can use a different truck. It's not a 5-minute job. You gotta pull it out and rewire stuff in another truck.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Bill.
What is your choice, Travis? Which one did you want to purchase? I think that Northern Tool, we might as well not bother with them. So the choice becomes between Tractor Supply and Varner Equipment. Availability is paramount. So what's your feeling?
Initial purchase. Tractor Supply would be a good supplier. They're the cheapest ones. They're all three the same sander. And then parts wise and stuff, Varner would probably be where we would get parts for it.
Okay, thank you.
Tammy?
So 2 questions. Would they both have like the same kind of warranty attached to the purchase? And also the 2020 budget includes $12,000 for equipment purchase. How much of that $12,000 has already been spent?
What's left?
I'm muted. Everyone's muted. Travis, you're muted too. I'm asking you to unmute, but something's going on with the Zoom. The $12,000 for, I believe, Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the $12,000 is the amount that remains in the budget for purchase of equipment. And the both Tractor Supply and Varner Equipment have a 1-year limited warranty.
And yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Other questions, discussion from the board? No? Okay, seeing none. Anything from the public? All right, seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the purchase of the Meyer Polyhawk PV spreader from, I guess, Tractor Supply?
I move that the town purchase the sander spreader from Tractor Supply for the $7,999.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, further discussion? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. All right, let's move on to 2022, accepting coordinated election results. I guess this is pretty much a slam dunk. It's been certified. We just have to accept the results, the election results for Back the Badge and the medicinal marijuana, retail and medicinal marijuana sales within the town limits, and the $5 transaction fee. Can I get a motion to that effect? Yeah, Karen?
I move that we approve resolution 2020-22, accepting the results of the November 3rd election.
Do I have a second? Is that a second, Dave?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to second, as long as we're not certifying the electoral college results.
That's done. You can't do anything with that. So that's all right. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? No. Seeing none. Anything from the public? All right. Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, moving on to resolution 2020-23, mill levy. All right, it is my understanding that the mill levy is set by the county. We just have to approve it. Can I get a motion to that effect? Karen?
Madam Mayor, this is the treasurer.
Yes, Treasurer Rock.
The mill levy is set at a town election. If the board wished to increase the mill levy, they would have to take it to the electorate to get it approved. We are just certifying that amount to the county for their calculation and determining property tax revenues for the town.
Thank you very much, Treasurer King. As always, you are far more informed than I am. All right, can we get a motion to set the mill levy?
I move that we approve resolution 2020-23, the resolution to set the mill levies.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, or any discussion? Seeing none, anything from the public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, resolution 2024 budget for 2021. All right, Corinne, first off, I would like to say that we have gotten, the board has received letters from both Corinne and Neil Ferguson, and they have requested that their salary increases be deferred until a later time. That time has not been specified. But I would like to thank them for their generosity in this regard. And understanding that the people of this town are suffering. And so to be able to put some of that money aside, I think it's a very generous offer on their regard. All right, that being said, Corinne or Cindy, do you have anything that you want to say in preparation for a vote on this budget?
I do want to say, of course, included in the packet is the resolution for the budget, as well as a substantially updated and completed ClearGov document. I want to remind the board that the resolution and the transmittal letter are the portions of the packet that are the required submittals to the state for the budget. But I do really want to recognize the amount of work that Cindy put into this, and we worked together on it a little bit, but she did the bulk of the lifting and the work. I'm personally very proud of the document that's in front of you and the amount of additional that we were able to get up, information we were able to get uploaded into ClearGov as we continue to work toward clear government and providing all of the details and information so the public has a clear idea of the town's position and what we're all working on as we all continue to work on the trust for each other and working for the overall good of our community.
I would like to take a second to second that. Reading through this document, I learned things about the debt and the debt reserve that I never knew before. So it is incredibly helpful and gives you a real window into how the government works and the funding for the government and why we do the things that we do. And I think this is a very good budget. I think we've worked hard to get it to this point, and I think it really is a good document for the coming year. All right, anybody want to say anything on the board? Discussion from the board? Yes.
Mayor, Treasurer?
Oh, I'm sorry, Treasurer King. Of course you can go first.
Thank you. I would like to state that after a comprehensive review of the major drivers reflecting the necessary and anticipated requirements in providing the services to the municipality, this budget absolutely reflects that. It also captures what we know at the point in time, and it needs to maintain a flexibility to adapt with changing conditions, which it does. We know the staff and the Board of Trustees have prepared the financial plan to achieve the goals and objectives determined during the planning process. It is my recommendation that the board adopts the 2021 budget. And I would like to also, along with Corinne, commend our finance officer for the job she's done in putting this document together. And that concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Treasurer King. All right, Dave, you had a hand up.
Yeah, I made a comment when we were meeting prior to the meeting in the Finance Committee, and it was about a quote I heard from a former Secretary of State. His name was George Shultz. And he talked about the necessity of trust, that if you're going to get a lot accomplished, there needs to be a platform of trust among people. And when Karen and I were meeting with Cindy several weeks ago, we really tried to process this idea of trust among us. And what I'm coming to try and urge people to do is that we trust that staff is doing the very best they can for the benefit of the town, and we trust that the trustees are doing the very best they can for the benefit of the town. And we also trust that the citizens that are providing overview for us are trying to do their best in raising questions. So I'm trying to encourage all of us to bring forth a platform of trust as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Anyone else? Yes, Michelle.
Yeah, I have a few comments and questions, but I don't think any of them are actually going to impact our decision tonight. So they're more looking ahead and what we might do differently, possibly later this year with the living document or next year. Would it be appropriate for me to provide those to Corinne to include in the next packet rather than trying to go through all of those this evening?
I think that would be a really good idea. Dave, do you have a different?
Well, actually, that was one of the requests Karen and I have for, as a finance committee. We'd like to really take a look at the process we went through. And Michelle, we'd really welcome ideas or comments about how we might improve this process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Michelle, if you would go ahead and forward that to Corinne, and then we can have it in the next packet to look at. Thank you very much for all the hard work that you do as well. Karen?
In the meantime, I move that we approve Resolution 2020-24, adoption of the budget.
Thank you, Karen. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, further discussion from the board? Yes, Tammy.
If I may, just a general comment too. I want to thank all of the citizens that, just kind of echo again what everybody's saying. Thank all the citizens for their time and their input and their questions, and especially on the board, Michelle, for just coming up with some incredible questions and just doing great diligence in paying attention and really studying up on the budget. It was immensely helpful. So I just want to say I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Anyone else? All right, seeing nothing from the board, from the public, yes, Susie. I'll try and be patient as you get unmuted.
Hi, this is Suzanne. Hello, this is Suzanne Watson. So I want to thank the trustees for your comments. I do want to point out that I did write a letter opposing the way that the building department is being gutted, defunded, and hopefully this, you can look into this next year for the following year. I know that there was a comment that said the staff was instructed to look at making the building department self-funding, but that's a comment that was from the previous year's budget too. So I don't know how much discussion this board actually had on that topic, but it's definitely something that hopefully we can look forward to in the next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. All right, 4544, please identify yourself and get unmuted. Thank you. You are now unmuted.
My apologies. Thank you. My apologies for star 9 versus star 6. Mayor Bachman, thank you very much for the opportunity to. I'm sorry, this is Paige Smith, 215 Delta Avenue. I have a question about the water rate resolution, which within your budget packet, you have the resolution to raise the water rates with an effective date of January 1, 2021 in the packet, as opposed to December 1st, 2020. So maybe that's not the case. Are you still going with water rates and trash rates, the rates beginning on December 1st of this year?
Okay, if you have any other questions, now's your chance to put them out there, Paige.
No, that's what I'm asking.
All right, thank you very much. Corinne.
They are in effect, they did go into effect December 1st, 2020, and I'll need to look at the attachments that were included in the packet. It's possible that it was not the final version that was approved at the board meeting.
Yes, Cindy.
Well, that wording was corrected in the budget document already.
All right, thank you. All right, anything else from the public? Yes, 4101. Please introduce
Christina
yourself.
Patterson.
Oh.
Christina Patterson. Just wondering how many people are on this call, citizens-wise.
We have 8 attendees. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, 4101.
Thank you.
It's taking a minute.
Hi, this is Chris Kendall.
Thank you, Chris.
You said that the water rates, the new ones, are in effect as of December 1st?
Correct.
Yes, the resolution.
Why haven't any of the water companies been? You haven't put that out to any of that information out to the water companies.
The final resolutions are out in the mail to the water companies. They went into effect December 1st, and so they would reflect on the first billing in January.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
We're not going
so
to
we're
the
for
discussion.
December. Do I have this right? We're being, for December water, we will be paying the new rates.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Thomas.
Thanks. I'd just like to bring everybody's attention. This budget is about 25% higher than last year's. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. Anything else from the public? All right. We have a motion and a second to approve budget, resolution 2020-24, the budget for 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you, everyone. All right, let's move on to resolution 2020-25, local disaster declaration. Well, it looks like we're just stuck in this for the long haul. And so in order to be able to access any government funds that come down and to take any actions needed, we are going to go ahead and extend the emergency declaration until, I believe, the end of March. Can I get a motion on that? Yes, Dave.
I'd like to move that we extend the local disaster declaration until the end of March. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion from the board. Yes, Dave.
This past week, one of my closest friends lost their 42-year-old daughter to COVID, so it's really striking home. I also had a friend in Flagstaff who lost their mother to it. So just in the last week, I've now had 2 close deaths from COVID. And I really am glad to see people starting to take it more seriously, but sad to hear about the deaths.
Our condolences, Dave. I'm so sorry. Any other discussion from the board? Okay, seeing none, anything from the public? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, next on the agenda is the Government Affairs and Public Safety Committee Accessory Dwelling Unit Update. Michelle and Mick, who wants to lead off?
So you have some information in the packet. We did, as a committee, start our discussion on accessory dwelling units as directed by the board. And we put together these ideas on how we would like to see it regulated. Basically, what we're looking for at this time is board direction, either discussion on whether these are right for our community, or direction if you'd like us to prepare an ordinance based on these recommendations or others.
Do you have any discussion from the board as to what you think about these recommendations? Personally, I think it makes a lot of sense, a lot of what you have put forward here. I especially like the idea that the short-term rental would not be an allowable use for ADUs. We do have things that would be considered ADUs currently being used for short-term rentals, so we will need to figure out a process as to whether we will grandfather them in or make exceptions for them, or what we're going to do with that. But I like the idea of being able to lift some of the zoning requirements as far as, how much of the property is covered in that, to allow these units, because a lot of places wouldn't be able to if we didn't do that. we have other discussion? Yes, Dave.
I just really commend our GAPS committee for coming up with this. It took a lot of work and thought, I'm sure, to come up with this idea. And I think it's really important for the town. This is adopted. It'll really help economic growth. It'll help with the housing crisis. It'll help on a number of fronts. And I really want to thank both Mick and Michelle for their work.
I concur on that one. Anyone else? Okay, well, would someone like to make a motion to have them draft this as an ordinance and bring it back to the board?
I would like to make that motion.
All right, thank you, Karen. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, further discussion. Yes, Bill.
I think, has any of this gone towards the planning commission, and wouldn't that be appropriate to take it to them before we brought it in the form of an ordinance?
Corinne or Bo, would you like to weigh in on that?
So, Bill, that's a fair point. Obviously, I would say that this is a board decision. So if you want it to just go to the board, you can do that. If you want the ordinance to be drafted up and then presented to the planning commission for any comment that they may provide, that could be the course of action, or you could direct the packet materials to be reviewed by the planning. So again, it's board discretion, if you will.
Thank you, Bo. Any other comments? All right, seeing none. Anything from the public? Okay, seeing none. All right, we have a motion and a second to draft this as an ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, so we have, am I correct, 1 nay and 5 ayes. Okay, that passes. So thank you, Mick and Michelle. Yes, Bill.
I would, I would vote aye, but I think that this needs the process of going for the planning commission before it comes before the board.
Okay. Pardon?
We could still do that as long once the thing is drafted, when we give something to put before the planning commission.
Because we don't have to accept it. I mean, once it's drafted, we don't have to accept it. We can go ahead and vote to send it to planning commission.
Yes.
Before we vote on it.
I just think that's a necessary step. We do have a planning commission, and they do have a purpose, and so yes, I would certainly think that would be appropriate.
Okay, well, when it comes back, let's go ahead and move forward on that. All right, again, thank you, Mick and Michelle. As always, you do such good work. Yes, Michelle.
I just want to toss in a thanks to Corinne on that as well. You would not have nearly as much detail on these recommendations if not for her knowledge and research on the code related to it.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Corinne.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Somebody else make a
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All right, seeing none, anything from the audience? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that motion carries. All right, next on the agenda is the mayor's report. Well, I would like to appoint Amanda Moharo as our Christmas lights judge. She and her family have graciously agreed to come down and view all the beautiful lights and decide who's best. And there are 3 prizes. It's $75 for first, $50 for second, and $25 for third. So if you haven't put your lights out already, I suggest Go for that $75, people. The other thing I'd like to report on is I have recently attended 2 Region 10 meetings. One was just a quarterly meeting where everybody updated. That's weird. The second was a regional economic recovery meeting that covered housing. And there's a new affordable housing project that is manufactured homes, tiny manufactured homes that's going into Ridgeway and Uray. So this could be something for us to watch as we move forward looking at affordable housing. The other thing I'd like to report on is that I was a panelist for the Great Lakes Community Action Partnership, sitting on a panel on creating small community entrepreneurial ecosystems. They asked us to take part in this panel because of Paonia's reputation for being an entrepreneurial center. And I was very pleased to do that and got some interesting questions from all over the country. All right, and that's all I have to report. Next up are committee reports, finance and personnel. Oh, Michelle, yes.
Sorry, before we jump ahead, I actually don't know if this was supposed to be your report or in Corinne's report, but we haven't talked yet about the situation with building inspection, and we were going to go through an update on that tonight.
Oh, that should have been way back. All right, Corinne.
So apologies, it was in my written report, but I neglected to mention that. So to date, we've had no response. I believe, Bo, if that's changed, chime in. But I know I haven't received any response directly from Colorado Code Consulting regarding the discontinuation of the existing contract and the proposed revision to the contract. It's my understanding, so at this point, my assumption is that there's no desire to move forward. I did also receive information that Colorado Code Consulting is now in partnership with another entity from another state. And so in lieu of that, during my administrator meeting that I will be attending once a month with the other administrators from the county, there is discussion about the potential of creating a county-wide, I say county-wide, but I don't mean unincorporated Delta County, but the municipalities within the county are looking at the potential of creating one building department, which would have multiple people on board that were specialized in plan review, building inspection, and the potential then to bring that to the board and have a flat fee and participate in one county-wide building department instead of an individual department, Paonia only. The only caveat for Paonia is that while we have all of the updates provided to update the code to incorporate the 2018 building code, we are the only community that has not done that to date. So we would need to finalize that code update so that we all were operating under the same building code.
Great.
And just to piggyback, no, I think Corinne has heard kind of secondhand that CCC doesn't intend to renew or modify the contract, but emails and phone calls to CCC's representative in Denver have been unresponded to.
Yes, Sean.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what that means for effective January 1st. If we have someone we can call, or what our next steps are until that countywide, the really exciting idea of having a countywide building department can possibly move forward.
So what I've done in the meantime, speaking with CCC's on-site representative, Dan Reardon, he has been very cognizant of the fact that that their time potentially was coming to an end, and most of the active permits are at a place where we're not going to find ourselves immediately in a tight spot come January 1st. And in the meantime, while we're considering the countywide, I have reached out to the other communities to see if they would be willing to allow their inspector to step in should something arise that needs an inspection in the meantime.
Yes, Karen.
Are we then going to go ahead and adopt the 2018 code? I mean, we have to if we're going to participate.
It is my intention to look over the information that was provided from Dan Reardon early on in the year, which included that update to the code, and then bring that back to the board and the Planning Commission in that joint meeting. I have reached out to the Planning Commission and received confirmation that most of their schedules are pretty flexible beginning of the year. So that is would be my intent, is to bring that back to the planning and to the board for review, and the board to finalize the adoption.
Great.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, there is a hand up in the audience, not exactly sure what they want to talk about, but 2329, you are up.
Hi, this is Suzanne Watson. I wanted to give you a heads up. There's actually a process described by state statute for adopting secondary codes when it has to do with the types of review that you have to undertake. So you might want to look into that, because we do adopt these building codes. They're a secondary code, and it doesn't involve the planning commission. So just a heads up.
Thank you very much, Sam. That's good information. All right. Let's move, if there's no further discussion on this, let's move forward to committee reports, finance and personnel. Dave and Karen.
Hi, we have set signing checks for tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I know it's really tough to keep social distancing with all the people that want to come in and watch us sign checks, but I just wanted to let them know when we're doing that. And also, if there's any concern by the public about us signing checks early, you know, the checks that we'll be signing December 30th will be at 10 o'clock in the morning, and that'll be the second batch of checks for this month. So again, I wanted to make sure that that's public, and anyone interested, we try to wear masks and keep social distance during that time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, government affairs, public safety, Bill and Tammy. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick and Michelle. John.
When did we change?
I need Kathy.
Our last GAPS meeting was held December 7th via Zoom, and we had 3 members of the public attend. We discussed the marijuana regulation and licensing, as Town Administrator Ferguson mentioned in her report. Also discussed were ADUs, which Trustee Pattinson reported earlier in the meeting. We also set up a Let's Talk for January 14th via Zoom at 6 o'clock to discuss short-term rentals. Our next meeting is January 11th via Zoom at 3 o'clock. Links for access will be available on the town's website calendar. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Nick. Anything to add, Michelle? Okay. Public Works, Utilities, Facilities, now, Bill and Tammy.
The Public Works Committee met with the Town Administrator and the Public Works Director today. We discussed a lot of the issues that were brought up tonight by Travis. Comment on the snow plowing operations. One issue that wasn't discussed earlier was the need for residents to shovel their sidewalks, and Corinne is going to put that on the next water bill. It goes out to remind citizens that they have the responsibility of keeping their sidewalks shoveled. The school water meter should be done by the end of the year. That hasn't been installed yet. Got updates on the mapping, the inventory. As discussed earlier, the computer system, the bulk water sales, they're all waiting on IT help. And we had a little bit of discussion of what happened to the Ranger. Travis explained that, so I was satisfied. I think Tammy was. And I think we tried to instill some urgency to get some of these projects off the table, such as the mapping and the JDS hydro study, as well as the inventory. That's all I have unless Tammy has something.
Tammy? Nope. Okay, and I would, again, second the sidewalk shoveling issue. In my meeting with the chief today, we discussed this too, and code enforcement will be starting to go out and red tag houses that do not shovel their walks within 24 hours of the end of the snow. So heads up, people. Citations are coming. Yes, Michelle.
Yeah, just one suggestion for the board to consider on that. Once we've done the red tag, I assume the follow-up would be a fine or a fee if it's not shoveled. I wonder if instead we might consider some kind of program. You know, there may be people who are out of town or who are unaware or unable to shovel their sidewalks. What if we had someone we could contract with who could do the work, and then we could add that to the customer's utility bill if we've had to shovel for them. That way it gets done rather than just charging a fee and maybe nothing happens.
Well, I think it's something to discuss. We may have to do something formal to be able to do that, especially. And then you have to take into account, you know, are we talking about an older person who can't afford another addition to their utility bill on top of this? So there are places that and people that do that, but yeah, looking at an alternative I think would be a good idea because some of those sidewalks are absolutely treacherous out there.
Yeah, I remember from last year there are some that red tagged or not, they're not going to be shoveled all year long. So maybe they're just paying the fees and calling that good enough. But I feel like if someone can't afford to have the sidewalk shoveled, they probably can't afford to pay the fee either. So at least having it shoveled would get it clear.
No. Discussion for a further time. Let's do part one and see how that goes, and we'll go from there. All right, tree board, Tammy.
Okay, I talked to the tree board chair, Paula Martin, today. The Tree City USA application is complete and will be submitted on time. The appointments of 2 members, Paula Martin and Roger Burrell, are expiring in January. They both have expressed interest in being reappointed, so that will be on a January agenda. And it's, as I understand, the state forestry tree survey, I always forget what this report is called. It will be complete hopefully by sometime in January, and the tree board will meet after that. Appointments are renewed to elect officers, and the next meeting after that would be once that report is released. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Well, we have run through our agenda, people. Very nice. All right, I want to wish,
hold on,
before we leave, I want to wish everybody, hold
Mayor,
on, hold on.
this is the treasurer. I would like
Yes,
to
Mr. Treasurer.
thank the board for the opportunity to work with them and the town staff and wish everybody the happiest of holidays, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and look forward to a successful 2021.
And I would echo those sentiments completely. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays, season greeting, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Please have a safe and celebratory holiday. And let's all see each other next year and not COVID-wise, okay? So blessings to everybody. And this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all for your hard work this year. Looking forward to being with you in 2021. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.